first of all, there is this inconsistency. Again, we have to think about people who are making these kind of claims. If that was the case, then why is it all fuzzy, these kind of pictures, whereas somebody is already claiming that there are life we have already found? Why is NASA trying to find these microbes on Mars when we have bodies here already in place? So and so forth, right?
Yeah.
But that is not my major concern about inconsistencies. Inconsistencies, people can do it for various reasons. I mean, I think I cannot prove it, but Avi Loeb makes these claims, but he has actually explicitly said it gets funding.
Right. I'm at the Amherst kitchen table of an alien. Wait a minute. Is that a mask?
No, this is not a mask. This is one of the files that have been released, and this is one of the evidence for aliens.
Oh, all right, Mr. Universe. It's really you, Dr. Salman Hamid, formerly of Hampshire College, soon to be teaching at the other remaining colleges in our area in the world of astronomy, and the head of Kainaat Studios. You have a very classic-looking alien mask that you brought. You're also wearing your Roswell, New Mexico, looks like a Van Gogh painting t-shirt with a flying saucer beaming down into New Mexico saying, believe. This all because, I mean, aliens is like our favorite topic. And Friday, the Pentagon, the quote-unquote War Department, released a tranche of documents and evidence about UFOs, unidentified flying objects, / UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. Not as cool, but probably more accurate. What's your take on the files that were released this weekend? Did you spend the whole weekend looking at and learning about aliens?
No, because I knew we already had them. Remember, we have talked about sort of like aliens and the government claims for that for many years.
Yeah.
In fact, going back to your previous radio station as well. So here is what I would say. I mean, I think I don't want to just rehash everything. This is the president of the United States, and who's the commander-in-chief as well. So, I mean, for the alien stuff. So he said that this statement is on, I mean, he truthed it as well.
Truth socialed?
But it is also on war.gov/UFO. And so, because it's now Department of War, DOW. But this is what he said. Whereas previous administrations have failed to be transparent on this subject, with the new documents and videos, the people can decide for themselves what the hell is going on, because that is capitalized. And so, okay, so that is the purpose of it. And I should mention that 162 files with hundreds of pages have been released. This is the first one, and it's going to be released periodically, regularly, in fact, I think once a week or whatever.
Whenever they need to distract from the actual news going on in the world, there'll be another dump.
And there are some video files as well. And how can I say this? But one of the saner tweets or truths, I don't know which one is that, came from Margie Taylor Greene. And again, I mean, she said that anything sort of like, they look at sort of like, this is part of, look at this shiny object propaganda while the administration wages a foreign war. And then she says this is a quote, unless they roll out live aliens and test demo UFOs or actually admit what we know, this really is, then I have to say I have way better things to do on this Friday. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is her skepticism coming in.
I'll also add my favorite headline from the punk rock satirical news website, The Hard Times. Total backfire. The recently unclassified UFO files link Donald Trump to another massive pedophile ring, but in space.
That's right.
Because that's what people are thinking. I mean, like, the Iran war is not going well. Gas prices super high. He has still somehow managed to skirt the other tranche of documents that have been released, the Epstein files. So tying that in together with the Hard Times and Marjorie Taylor Greene. That being said, there were files and videos released.
Right. So let me first of all, one of the way people talk about it. Let me clarify this part. And Jared Isaacman, who was the head of NASA, a couple of weeks ago, he actually quoted. He said this: "The odds that we will find something at some point to suggest that we are not alone are pretty high." Now, people go like, okay, so if you are skeptical of the UFO files, then you are saying that there are no aliens out there, the possibility of aliens. Those are two different things. And we have talked about it many times. So let me be clear about it, because again, Jared Isaacman was quoted saying that, well, a lot of the mission of NASA, or NASA's missions, have this as a core principle, like, or core motivation. Is there any life elsewhere in the universe or not?
Yeah. And we're doing like core samples on the moon or wherever, we're literally looking for dead cells that tell us life might have existed here at one time.
Or on Mars and things like that. So there is a difference between those two things. So if the NASA head says, well, the odds of finding something at some point to suggest that we are not alone is pretty high, sure, I say the same thing, even though I'm not the head of NASA. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
But, and so you can totally believe, and I would say this is a matter of belief, that there is life elsewhere out there. I certainly think there is. But there is a difference between that and asking the question, do we have evidence for life elsewhere in the universe? And so far, whatever today's date is, no, we do not have evidence for that. Are there claims that we have evidence for that? Yes. Are any of the claims scientifically accepted, by a vast majority of scientists, what we would call, here is an acceptable idea? No. Are there people who make claims that, for example, astronomer like Avi Loeb, that, hey, this was an alien spacecraft? Yes. Do majority of scientists believe that or think that those claims are valid? No. So these are facts. So I just wanted to make it clear that these are factual claims. These are not, what I'm talking about is people can make real claims. People can be sincere about those claims. But the scientific body, as of today, does not believe that we have evidence for extraterrestrial life.
Did you look at those files that were released on Friday, and did anything pop into your mind that you hadn't seen before or was interesting to you in any way that would lend itself more towards the idea that this could be credibly viewed as intelligent life from another planet?
Okay, so again, you asked two different questions. First part, was there anything intriguing in it? Yes. I actually thought they were, because I went through, there are video files. And
that star-shaped one? That was wicked cool.
Well, there are, and some of them are also sort of a clear sort of picture imagination and things like that. All of that stuff.
All the artist rendering ones, I don't like that. But then there were half of them I looked at, I was like, I can't even tell what the heck why this is even interesting.
So here is the question, and in fact, amongst those files, they actually say there that the materials archived here are unresolved cases, meaning the government is unable to make a definitive determination on the nature of the observed phenomena. This can occur for a variety of reasons, including a lack of sufficient data, unquote. Okay, so they say that. So are there things that are intriguing? Sure, yes. But does that mean that those are spacecrafts from another civilization and those alien technology? No. So there are a lot of things that we don't know what those are. It's not because those are alien spacecrafts. If you claim that those are alien spacecrafts, you have to show positively that those are alien spacecrafts, rather than, hey, I don't know what that streak is. I don't know what those dots are. Hence, they are alien spacecrafts. So there is a distinction between saying and thinking we don't understand something, because there could be many, many, many reasons why we don't understand something, versus I am positive that it is an alien spacecraft. So that distinction is extremely important. So these cases are where people noted, and these span 80 years. In some cases, those are from 40s and 50s and things like that.
Apollo mission shows up in this.
And then there are some that are from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And they have put all those files and it's like, well, somebody noted, hey, I see these dots or these streaks or these bright object. I don't know what it is. They tried to investigate. They didn't know what it is, and hence they are unidentified, right? So that's what it is. And so did anything that set up? I thought it was actually historically, it's really interesting that, for example, Buzz Aldrin, actually there is a file in there in which he debriefed, and he says, well, he saw something of a sizable, and this is quote, object close to the lunar surface and a fairly bright light source. Okay, well, that's interesting. Now, others didn't see it. They didn't find any reason for that. What could it be? We don't know. You are also on another sort of like, body. Who knows, what. So those things do happen in Apollo 17. They saw some 3 dots sort of like, in one of the pictures. Now remember, there are all these other Apollo missions. They didn't see anything, so that will be an interesting question. Oh, wait a minute. If those are really alien spacecraft, what did they do? Sleep through it when Apollo 12 went, or Apollo 14, 15, 16, and so on and so forth? Nevertheless, yeah. So we see a lot of things that are not explained, and that is totally fine. And scientists in general are much more comfortable in saying, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. There is, again, I would repeat the same thing. There is a distinction between not knowing something versus, because I do not know, hence it is an alien spacecraft.
When I have this fight at parties about aliens, which I do frequently, including with the brother of the person that we went to the movies with last Monday night, when we went to see Exit 8 at the late night show at Amherst Cinema. Filmmaker Bob Kraskowski's brother and I end up at almost every party having a big debate about whether aliens exist or not. And I'm always saying, I believe aliens exist, but there is zero evidence that aliens exist. Depending on the intellectual bent of the person you're debating, it's fun to say, I saw those 3 dots in the sky. That was clearly angels. Or that was clearly Care Bears. You can insert anything in there, and it is as a valid and intellectual leap between we don't know what it is, so then it must be aliens. We don't know what it is, so then it must be angels. That we don't know what it is, so then it must be Care Bears. It's as likely that it's either of those 3 things because there is no evidence as to what it actually is.
But I want to actually switch back to this conversation about why does it matter?
Yeah.
Why do we care? Why are we even talking about this? And to me, there is actually a much more serious conversation behind that. One is, there are people, even just critically looking at this, there have been hearings in the Congress, and there was one person, David Grush, 2 years ago, 2023, in fact, so 2.5 years ago, he actually had a testimony to U.S. Congress, and he said that I was informed of a multi-decade UAP, so unidentified aerial phenomena, crash retrieval and reverse engineering program,
Right.
to which I was denied access. And in fact, he said that this has been going on since 1930s, and in fact, Mussolini in Italy was the one who actually found a saucer that crashed over there, and then it went to the Vatican, and the Vatican got it to the US, and hence we have that. Okay, now if all of that is true, which he claimed, then why are we just releasing these pictures of these faint objects, and we don't know what it is, 3 dots? So you cannot have it both ways, meaning to say that some people making a claim, as he is in front of the Congress, which, by the way, he himself did not see any of the alien bodies, but he claimed that they were bodies that retrieved, and he said those were biologics of non-human or non-earthly origins. Right? So, first of all, there is this inconsistency. Again, we have to think about people who are making these kind of claims. If that was the case, then why is it all fuzzy, these kind of pictures, whereas somebody is already claiming that there are life we have already found? Why is NASA trying to find these microbes on Mars when we have bodies here already in place? So and so forth, right?
Yeah.
But that is not my major concern about inconsistencies. Inconsistencies, people can do it for various reasons. I think I cannot prove it, but Avi Loeb makes these claims, but he has actually explicitly said it gets funding.
Right.
My concern is that what is the impact of that for the public? And we recently had, and we talked about it, people have made a lot of fun when a person who is number 2, I think, in FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, he's the head of Office of Response and Recovery, and he claimed that he had been teleported to a Waffle House.
Yeah.
Right. And then he said actually he was that wasn't the word he would use. He would use the word translated or transported, which is not a new concept for people of faith. Okay, and he said in biblical context it had been happened, right?
Happened to Muhammad.
Right. So if that is the case, that now he is the head of or like of Office of Response and Recovery, how would he respond to a situation? Would he accept sort of like would he respond to something if information comes to him that there is a flood warning or there is a weather warning? My concern comes in that people can believe in various things, and people do that, for example, for astrology. I mean, there is nothing wrong. I mean, I'm skeptical of astrology. Astrology, physically doesn't work, and we understand why, and so on and so forth. But I also understand why people might believe in astrology, because it gives a bit of an illusion, what is called an illusion of control. Life is hard, and there are a lot of different things we cannot predict. Well, maybe the position, the way stars are today, or when you were born, and so on and so forth, it gives you a little bit of control in your life. That's fine, fine meaning, it's up to you. You want to do that. Fine meaning, you are making your marriage decisions or others, But remember, the reason why astrology had worked, or sort of people used to believe in those things, was because life was uncertain, not just in terms of personal matters, but also in terms of the weather and in terms of fires. These were all random phenomena. And so astrology, the patterns of stars and so on and so forth, were used to predict, for example, fires in London, fires in Baghdad, or the weather pattern for all year round. Today we don't use that, because we understand whether we can actually have predictions from satellites and so on and so forth, and fires are a lot less in terms of that, because things are not just made up of wood all the time, and so you don't have these randomized aspect. But human life is still complicated, and so we still cling on to astrology. But that is, if people want to have a sort of this way, that I want to use astrology to predict my life, that is okay. But would you be okay if your government officials are using astrology, for example, to formulate a response to a weather event that is coming up? Would you be okay if the head of FEMA, or the number 2 in FEMA, says, well, you know what? I would have responded to that, but the sun was right now in Capricorn, and you know what? That is actually not the most preferable thing to do. That is where the aspect lies, whether we would be okay in your government officials to make decisions based on things that the science, for example, does not corroborate.
Like, say, mass school shootings with thoughts and prayers.
That's exactly right. Well, there is a parallel to that, yeah. So I think here you are losing confidence on things. So, for example, if you do have a major claim that comes up regarding life, who are you going to listen to? And it's not just about life. When somebody says, well, we have detected an exoplanet, do you say, well, who knows? The idea, by the way, for these UFO files, the president's truth also said, the people can decide for themselves. Here is the data. People can decide for themselves. Why don't we do that for everything?
Yeah.
Right? If that is the case, well, here is the exoplanet data. You can actually go to various NASA sites or other scientific sites. Go ahead and decide on your own. Do we have exoplanets elsewhere or not? Why not? Let people decide. Or if you want to figure out sort of how did the moon form? But let people decide. Why do we need scientists figuring out, debating, and engaging with, well, what is working? What is the evidence? What is the process behind it? This is the reason why scientists are skeptical about these claims. And this is the reason why there is a debate, even when there are claims for microbes that have been the case, for example, in a meteoroid that came from Mars in 1996, I think, or 96, when President Bill Clinton made the same, he says, maybe there is evidence of ancient life in this meteoroid. And then people tested, and now most scientists believe that no, that was chemistry, not biology, because it's a hard question. Now just think about that process. And so next time those scientists, when they make a claim, this is real, you would trust them because you saw the skepticism of these big claims. And as Carl Sagan said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Just because you see something you don't understand, and hence it is a UFO, is not an extraordinary evidence. And so I think, and again, going to the impact part, you can see this stuff happening in NIH, the National Institute of Health, or your vaccines and things like that. Just this past week, they said that, shingles vaccine, they have removed the suggestion was that it was safe. Now, under normal circumstances, under normal or previous administrations, you'd be like, I would have been concerned about it from the context, it's not safe. But because the way RFK Jr. has made so many different claims which go against scientific aspects, now I don't actually know regarding that, because I have lost trust in a federal agency where scientists usually work and where scientists usually give an opinion. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't know. I think I'll still get the shingles vaccine, mm-hmm. right? This is, and that is in the health domain, which is far more important, for example, whether there is life elsewhere or not. But it's the same kind of process. So having these kind of statements coming from federal employees, having these kind of UFO claims, like, rather bypassing scientists, making these kind of things, let people decide. It undermines the faith, the confidence in the process by which we understand the physical world. And I think it is this long-term erosion of faith in, and I'm using the word faith, in the scientific process, in the way scientists work. Scientists will keep on working the same way. But I think it's the trust of the public that will going to erode in the governmental institutions, because they will keep on bypassing scientists and making claims regarding the UAPs, or just say, who knows? Well, we do know. And we don't know is a big question, the big answer of what we know. And it's okay to say, we don't know. So that's where we are. That's where my rant is, Monty.
I love it. We don't know, and that's fine.